What's going on, everybody? It's Bill Bailey with today's Boondoggle, and I'm I've been a little excited about setting this interview up here today, and I'll get into that a little bit as we get along here. But let me introduce this gentleman, for Mr. Joseph Rojas of the band Seventh Day Slumber. How you doing?
Doing good, man. Thanks for having me on. I'm excited.
Yeah, me too. I mean, it's just funny how time uh, full circle and kind of the subject matter and stuff we'll be talking about today that I want to get into. But usually when I have somebody on for the first time, I like to get a quick background. So originally, what did you want to be when you grew up?
Uh, when I was growing up, it was hard to figure out what I wanted to be. Honestly, I didn't feel like I was good at much. I It was one of those things where I didn't really have a lot of goals and aspirations. Uh, it's kind of weird and kind of sad at the same time because I was wanting to be a part of sports. I wasn't really good at that. I was wanting to, um, before I hit 12 years old when I got my first guitar. Now, once I got my guitar, I wanted to be in a band. But prior to that, there wasn't a lot of stuff. So I guess you could say music in some way, like, kind of saved my life.
Yeah, it gave you some direction or purpose. I and that's what I was going to ask next too. Like, when was it that you discovered music and that took you 12 years old, huh?
Yeah, actually, music was life changing for me. I grew up in a household as a single mom, and she was working all hours of the day and night, really, just trying to raise my brother and I. And so all I wanted was this guitar, like the guitar player Slayer had, and it was a BC Rich, and and those are expensive, and I have a single mom who can't afford to go get me one of those. And anyway, she worked at Sears, so she was able to get a generic knockoff looking one from the Sears catalog, the Sears and Roebuck catalog, man. And so I grabbed that guitar, but I couldn't afford, we didn't have money for lessons. So my mom got, or an amp. So she got me this old amp from a pawn shop for like 15 bucks, had a blown speaker. So it gave me distortion. But I started on that, and it ended up taking a lot of my day. And that's a good thing for me because, I used to sit around just thinking about stuff. I just was always thinking about stuff, and that's not a great thing, for me.
Oh, I can relate.
Music kept me preoccupied, I guess.
Yeah, and then so when you started like learning how to play and growing up in high school, did you start any like bands with your friends and stuff?
Yeah, actually I did, man. I started like a hardcore band called The Front, and we weren't any good at all. And the name was perfect because we were just a front for real musicians. And and so but no, we play the skating rink and just any like place that would have us. We were all under all under 15, so we couldn't play really anywhere that was, even some of the all ages places were like, you guys are too young. We're like, this is all ages. They're like, yeah, but we want people that are 16 and 17 here. But no, but we were playing anywhere that would have us, man. And we all of us kind of broke apart because it's just like we weren't good. but but it was fun, and I loved it, and I had a blast. And then I started playing country music, which is hilarious. But I started getting better at my craft, better at my guitar and learning. And I'm like, man, you can't make any money playing metal out here in Texas, you know, and and so I started doing like country. I picked up a bass guitar and started playing bass for a country band, and all of us were like young rockers. And we had another stupid band name. We changed our we it was a couple of the dudes from the hardcore band. They actually got a little bit better, but we changed the name to Young at Heart, which makes no sense because we were literally young. And so of course we were young at heart. We were like kids, but we started playing country, and we actually were somewhat successful in South Texas. So yeah,
Gotcha.
played a bunch of honky tonks as as teenagers.
Nice. And then, like, when did Seventh Day Slumber uh, come together for you?
Seventh Day Slumber came together in about '97. I honestly, I drugs got real bad in my life. I started using drugs and alcohol when I was 12, and so that became my go-to because I felt a lot of emptiness, and that's what I don't want to get too depressing on your show, but at the end of the day, I grew up without a father. My dad used to beat on my mom. That was the only real memory I have of a dad growing up. And so that's why, like I said, up until 12 years old, I was really hurting, man. I had a lot of stuff going on in my mind. And so having a guitar really, that's what I said, it saved my life. It really helped me to not be so focused on that kind of stuff, not having your dad in your life and everything. But anyway, no, I mean drugs and alcohol, 12 years old, 14, I found cocaine. That became my drug of choice. And so I was playing all these honky tonks, I was playing all these dive bars, I was playing all these places, and I got paid in like drugs and alcohol. That's how we got paid, and partying and all that stuff. And then I came to a place where like I was looking at 10 years in a federal penitentiary. Like I'd been in and out of jails and institutions and locked up here and there. And finally I made the decision to take my life. And so I didn't know nothing about like I wasn't raised like in a church home or anything like that. My mom believed like God is real, and like you shouldn't kill people and you shouldn't talk back to your parents, and like God, like that, like the big man upstairs.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like real big in our family and stuff. But anyway, finally I made the decision to take my life. My mom was the one that found me, and in the back of an ambulance, I had an encounter with Jesus. I mean, I'm not trying to preach on your show, but that's what the deal is, and that began my journey. That's how Seventh Day Slumber came about. Is I couldn't write about the stuff I was writing about anymore because I wasn't depressed like I was. Because all my other songs that I'd be writing about were all about like I mean, it, just to rebel, which is cool. I'm still a rock rebel, man. But it was like just a lot of depression, and I'd write a lot about taking my life, a lot about dope, a lot about that. And this, I couldn't write about that stuff anymore, man, because I felt like, dude, I'm different. I feel different. I'm still ugly, but God didn't change my face. But but no, I mean, and so Seventh Day Slumber came about that way. Like I ended up just getting a few people together, and people that I also knew had an encounter with God, like believed in God stuff, and we started that band. But I wanted
Nice.
it to be rock. I still wanted it to be heavy. I still wanted to be like. I got judged a lot, by the way, in the church for that because you ain't supposed to have rock music and talk about Jesus.
Well, I got a confession for you.
Yeah.
Um, Back in 2009, after my last deployment in the Middle East, I was a big heavy metal rock and roll guy, living that same lifestyle. Two little girls at home, and I got deployed, and I had and preaching and free speech is welcome on this show. So
Oh,
we'll
yeah.
get into that,
Yeah.
But I I had my come to Jesus moment when I came home from the Middle East, and I was you know, uh, kind of like struggling. I got saved at a church. Um, I came home, I kind of hit my bottom over there. Seeds were planted in my head. What kind of legacy I would have left behind if I didn't come home? What would my daughters remember of me if I didn't come home? So the seeds were planted. I came home. I got saved at a church here, and then I was like, "Hey, I got a drinking and drug problem. Can you hook me up?" They hooked me up with a Christian recovery group, and I started getting sober. And then I was like, well, what am I going to do? I love music. I love metal. I love, you know, hard rock and stuff. How am I going to make this transition? And I took me and my daughters, they were still little, and we went to our first Alive festival here in Ohio.
Oh yeah.
And at that Alive festival, I got to hear this man's testimony, um, before his band that really kicked my butt, and I really loved them. And I got a picture I want to share with you.
Wow, man. That's old school, dude.
Yeah, so you guys, I met you guys at a live fest, and I heard your story there, and tears running down my face, and I was just like, thank you, God, I can do this. I can leave. I could still rock out, and I could still worship. And you played a part in that. I mean, I heard you guys. I got turned on to Skillet. I was a big Kiss fan, so Skillet had the pyro and all that stuff too.
Oh yeah.
And Red, and that was just an amazing weekend with me and my daughters. And we started, that became like a tradition. Now they're all grown, and they don't like sleeping in tents and stuff anymore. I don't blame me neither. But yeah, dude, I got to meet you there and hear your story and talk with you, and you definitely helped motivate me and inspire me going forward. And now I just celebrated 13 years of sobriety,
Dude, rock on, man.
and this podcast is kind of like therapy for me, working on my anxieties and all the other stuff. We get sober, but then we got to work on feeling and how we feel and all that,
Yeah.
and how we deal with stuff. And this podcast has been a tool to help me, socialize more. But when I saw I had the opportunity to talk to you, man, I definitely wanted to share this with you, man. I thank you for everything
Dude.
you've done, man, to impact my life, and I'm sure so many others. And I'm glad you're still doing it. Um, but you know, I just wanted to share that with you, and now we get back to the interview and everything. But
Dude, thank you for sharing that with me, man. Seriously, that means a lot to me. Like every band, whether they believe in God or not, every band wants to make an impact. They want their music to matter, and they want their music to make a difference. And so hearing this, man, it really means something to me. So thank you for sharing that, and congratulations, dude. Like I know it's not easy getting sober, dude. Like it's not easy. Like the things that we still have to deal with now. You don't have something you can numb the pain with anymore. Now you got to face it head on, and those
yeah,
are the tough things. But that takes courage. It takes bravery, and so I just want to encourage anybody that's watching and listening, like, dude, you can do it, man. You can, and I'm not here to judge someone that's still, that drinks or is doing whatever, but I'm saying that there are some people that have real struggles with it that really are are hurting, and don't feel like there's any way out of it. Like that addiction is too big, and I'm here to tell you that it's not. That it is big, but it's not too big, and that you can have victory over this, man. You really can.
amen. Yeah, I'm involved with my home group is a Christian recovery group called Galvanized at my church. And um it's just like, you come in there and yeah, you're getting sober, but we want to be better men. We want to be better fathers, better husbands, better, you know, brothers, examples for our for society, and it's, and especially in the world we're dealing, you know, today, but all the time, and it's definitely not easy, but when you get when you surround yourself with a good circle, it's like when I was in the military. Yeah, you went into battle with somebody to your right and your left. Well, every day is a spiritual battle, and I just try and stay surrounded. And God's blessed me through this podcasting. I'm friends with a bunch of other musicians and people now that I attend recovery meetings with and stuff. And it's been a huge blessing in my life, and it's definitely helped my daughters are now, you know, young adult women, and my relationship with them is, you know, been amazing for everything that God has done and recovery has done, man. And, it's good to, for me, God's always, he'll speak to me through people in the rooms. He'll speak to me through relationships, and on the radio and through, music, and your guys' music has definitely played a role in telling me things I needed to hear from God a lot of times.
Dude,
So,
that's awesome.
but let's talk a little bit about the latest album. Um, you know, Death by Admiration. I mean, now it's like 13. It's your 13th album, from
Yeah,
what I read.
yeah,
It's like you guys have been doing this, a while, and I find it ironic, that it's your 13th album, and I just celebrated my 13th anniversary of sobriety too. So it's
yeah.
like, look at that, how much you guys have been helping me along the way, man. I appreciate it. But let's talk a little bit about putting that album together and what the inspiration and motivation behind it.
Yeah, so Death by Admiration, it's it's a I want to say it's our heavy well, I know it's our heaviest album to date. Like it's it goes hard. And my son, who's 20 years old, and now he's the drummer of this band. He's a phenomenal drummer. He's played with a lot of bands from Spoken to The Protest to he plays drums for a lot of different people, but our drummer is now in working in Sacramento and lives there with his family and everything and does music over there. And so my son, he was my son's drum teacher. And so my son is now in that position. But Blaise, actually, him and our guitar player Weston produced this album along with Kellen McGregor from Memphis Mayfire. And Kellen's a friend of ours. And so all three of them got together and produced this album. And I always kind of joke because people say, man, this is y'all's 13th album, but it's y'all's best album to date. And I'm like, oh, that's the one I had the least involvement in. what is what is that about? But I can be proud of it because my son is the one who he wrote about 70% of the melodies on the record. Our guitar player Weston wrote all the guitar parts, and Kellen McGregor was kind of the glue that put it all together. And so then we had a guy by the name of Brad Blackwood, who's a Grammy award-winning mastering engineer. He did POD's last couple of records. He did Korn, a couple of Korn albums, Bruno Mars, 21 Pilots. Anyway,
Yeah, I seen he did worked with Demon Hunter and stuff too.
yeah, he did Demon
Other
Hunter.
one,
And
yeah.
matter of fact, Ryan from Demon Hunter, the lead singer, he designed 3 of our album covers. And so yeah, it's pretty amazing how all this stuff works. But Brad mastered the album, and so it just came out amazing. And I'm just honored that I get to be the guy that sings it every night, but they put I sang about I wrote about 30% of the melodies, and then I wrote 50% of the lyrics on there. My son wrote the other 50%. But it is a powerful record, and I listen to those songs, and man, it really it really hits home with me on that record. Even the stuff that my son wrote, it just really speaks to me, man. And it speaks to a lot of people. It deals with real life issues, and it's just a solid, heavy record, but with a lyrical content that people can really relate to and encourage them. Give them an anthem and rock
Yeah.
out.
Yeah, and that's what I'm talking about too, because I've always kind of like been a lyric guy. And like I said, when I need to hear a message, it's usually, somebody's song lyrics. But to me, it's like hitting my heart a certain way. Like, you know, like I said, God's trying to tell me something, So I'm excited to hear more of this record. And you guys called in, like a lot of other players to contribute. I see to it, like Josiah from Disciple
Yeah,
is on there, and Telly from The Word Alive.
yeah. Josiah actually, we've done a lot of touring with Disciple, so we know all of those guys, all the Disciple crew and everything. Love them. And it was great to Josiah actually wrote a song with us on this record, and it's called "Can't Say Sorry Enough." It's the only slow song on this record, the only ballad. Which is funny that Josiah was the one that wrote the slow song because that dude likes to rock, man. But no, it was he was really helping me out because I wanted to write a song for my wife. A song. This is a song that's years in the making. Um, like I seem to be able to write songs about everything else, but when it comes to my wife, it's such a sacred thing that I don't want to mess it up. And
Yeah,
I just want the song to be right. And so the song Can't Say Sorry Enough is really just about all of the hell that I put my wife through. What I put her through, man, and how I she's watching me drink myself to death. And people don't know this, but like I got set free from a cocaine addiction. I had a $400 a day cocaine addiction, and that was before I knew my wife. That was before I even had kids, and because I got married when I was about 25. Um, so everything had finally changed by then, and I met my wife shortly after I got clean for real, like, and you know, I for 10 years I was living for God, like, and for my family. I was sober. Man, everything was happening. The band was taking off. We're playing all these events. We're on VH1. We're on Christian television. We're on active rock. We're on Christian rock. We're on all the everything, and it's all going great. Billboard. There's so much to like be happy about, but for some reason I ended up falling into a depression. You ever been sad and you didn't know why?
oh yeah,
And that's how I felt. Like I was just sad and I didn't exactly know why. And I couldn't pinpoint it, but I started, and instead of telling people and like finding someone to talk to, and I believe me, I had good friends. I could have done it. I just didn't. Because
yeah. Our
you know,
pride gets in the way.
yeah, that's it. Exactly. And I just was like, man, I don't want him to know this. And I don't, and so anyway, it ended up getting worse, and I ended up grabbing a bottle, and dude, I ended up back down that same road, and my wife had to see me like that, and that was years ago, but that but at the same time, I it's still fresh to me, and I know that, and when I think about how I hurt my wife and her having to see me that way, it like makes my stomach hurt to think about it. Even now that that's been years, and I'm like not using, I'm not drinking or anything like that. It's like it's still. I hate that I did that, and we can't live in the past, and I understand that, and I've made peace with my past. But at the same time, you never like to think about someone you love that much that you actually were the source of their pain. And so Can't Say Sorry Enough was a song that I wanted to write to her. That even though I've said sorry so many times and she has forgiven me, she's never thrown it in my face, man. Like for
Oh,
real,
that's beautiful.
dude, never. And so to have a wife that's never thrown it in your face, but I have to see myself in the mirror and know that I did that. And it was hard for me to forgive. She forgave me, but I couldn't forgive myself.
Yeah,
And so that's what Can't Say Sorry Enough is. And Josiah helped me bring that song to life.
yeah, yeah. It's beautiful that your wife's been so forgiving and supportive, man. My ex still shoots some flaming arrows, and this was, like I said, I'm 13 years in now,
Oh
and
yeah.
I mean, I still got a lot of character defects I work through, but that's why I got a 12-step program, and the hardest amends for me to make have been the people that I was closest, the mother of my children, the people that I was closest to that I really hurt.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, dude, but I'm glad, you being vulnerable and transparent in your lyrics and putting this stuff out is definitely going to continue to help so many other people. Um, I mean, how much? I mean, it got to a point, obviously, that I mean, was it almost like living a double life because you're representing, a Christian musician and stuff, and then you're, on the side or whatever. I don't know how,
Yeah. Well,
obvious it was, but
that's what the title that's what the title Death by Admiration is about. So yeah, I mean, I hit it really well. Like a lot of people didn't know because I'd have all these excuses. Dude, I don't drink on stage or I don't drink, whatever. So it's only when I got done playing, then I'd go back to the bus and I'd be in I have a back room in the back of the bus and I'd go back there and I'd just drink myself till I till I pass out and trying to drown out the pain. I could see like I could help all these people at our concerts. Like just I was helping these people, it was God helping them, but using me to speak in
yeah,
their life and stuff. And but I couldn't help myself. And it was like I could trust that God could help these people because I saw him help me with my $400 a day cocaine addiction. But I felt like that he wasn't going to help me because of how bad I've messed up now after he's given me all this stuff. Dude, I was homeless. Like when I say homeless, I don't mean sleeping on someone's couch homeless. I mean, I lived in an alleyway in Austin, Texas, and I ate out of garbage cans, and God, like, fixed me up, and now I'm a homeowner. And so it was like, and so how could I take all of those cool things that God did for me and then still go mess up and drink? That's what I was feeling, right? And I'm like,
yeah.
God must be totally done with me, but he wasn't, and he isn't. And he knew the mistakes I was going to make before I ever made them, and he hasn't changed his mind about me. It's not God that was telling me he's done with me. It was unfortunately a lot of other Christian people that were telling me God was done with me.
Oh,
And
yeah,
and God's like, you don't speak for me. I know you claim to come in my name, but you aren't speaking for me. And it was when I finally had another like real sit down with Jesus, like and he's like, I love you, like not in an audible voice, but to my heart, like I just knew he was telling me he still loved me. And it was my wife that was like Jesus to me. She was being Jesus to me. It was her who was helping me to restore, all that stuff that I'd lost. And anyway, but yeah, I mean, death by admiration. I felt like I was living a double life, and death by admiration literally is about that. It means what it means is that people admired me so much and looked up to me, and I don't mean held me as an idol. I mean like really respected me, really admired me, and I didn't want to let them down. There were people that looked up to me so much, and their lives were changed because of something I said, just like you and I were just talking about when you
yeah.
were at the festival. And so they looked up to me that I didn't want to let them down and let them know that this is how bad I've messed up, and I didn't want to be here. I just honestly wasn't able to get out of it. And so while you don't want to let the people down that admire you, not because you want to be a hypocrite or because you want to keep doing what you're doing, but because you're so embarrassed of what you're doing and it's not right, but you don't want to let them down. You end up holding that stuff within and it's killing you inside. That's what death by admiration means.
Gotcha. And I can relate too. Like, I think sometimes the biggest obstacle for people coming to know Christ is fellow Christians. You know, we get in the way with our own human understanding and judgment, and it's a shame, man. I mean, if God's so, omniscient, I mean, who are we to say how he's going to help others and communicate to others? He's going to go into these places where most of those Christian people won't go into. And it's usually, through, music or, whatever, people that are just willing to go there and show the love and shine the light. So,
Yeah.
um, But speaking of the new album and stuff, you guys getting ready to, hit the road and play um to promote it. Is there a particular song on the album that you're looking forward to the most playing live for an audience and connecting with?
Man, I this new album, it's hard for me to pick. We're gonna be playing a lot of the probably like 8 songs off that new album, and on the Death by Admiration tour, and that tour starts in about 29 days. And so we're gonna be out with we're bringing out a band called Decipher Down. We're bringing out another band called Spoken, and then a band called Amongst the Giants, and that's gonna be a just a hard rock, hard hitting, in your face tour. And we're playing like the House of Blues in Dallas and Wildcatters in Houston, Texas, and then we're playing some churches too. So we're playing some clubs, some churches, and whatever else, but we're bringing the heat. But one of my favorite songs to play live, we're already playing it now, it is a song called Halos. And dude, that song is straight fire, man. My Our guitar player came up with came up with some sick riffs. Um and then Blaise, he our drummer, he came up with some ridiculous like melody. And that just song, I don't know, man, that song is just it's fun to play. It's also just a powerful song, just about not being able to say goodbye to the ones that you love, that maybe you missed an opportunity to speak to them before it's no longer here, and you don't have that opportunity now. And so that's what
Wow.
Halos is about. And it's, man, it was on it was on the playlist, on Spotify's playlist, the metal, uh like their, I forgot, it was like new metal or new something metal playlist, which has almost a million like followers or whatever. But they put it on that one, and we didn't even like sign it up for playlisting. So that's they must have loved it too. So it's just really cool, man.
Yeah, and while you were just explaining the meaning of the song and everything, it just kind of like hit my heart too, like what we just have gone through with the whole pandemic and the lockdowns. And my father lived to be 92 and he passed away back in 2019, um, I believe, or maybe it was 2018. But thankful, I was like grateful that it happened before this, because it's like, there's times where he was in a nursing home, and it's like all those people that weren't able to be there for their loved ones that passed because of, everything, that all these crazy restrictions and everything that we just went through. I wonder how many people are going to hear this song and it's going to give them a little bit of closure or healing from, what they're going through.
Yeah, well, definitely. I mean, that it was sad. Like there were people that had to die alone, and they had kids that wanted to see them, wanted to be there for them, but couldn't, because of the restrictions and all that stuff. And it's like, then you start running a bunch of stuff through your mind, like, man, I should have spent more time with him. I meant to spend more time. I should have
Yeah,
said this. I meant to say this. Or and that's what the song is about. And so it's kind of just a reminder, like, hey, dude, tomorrow is not promised. We got to be there for the ones that we love, and take that extra time, even though we're busy and got all these things going on, man. Make some time, because you don't know what tomorrow brings.
exactly. Yeah. And we're quick forgetters, unfortunately. So we need as many of those reminders, you know, because
Yeah,
I remember like one of the blessings that I thought, like, when we were going through the lockdown, is like I said, my daughters are young adult women now, so they're always out with their friends. We're kind of just like roommates passing by, all the time. And then when we had the lockdown, it's like we had a chance to rebuild our relationship, and get to spend more time together. And I was like, wow, these are the things that really matter. And now it's like everything's open back up and we're all kind of like forgetting already, you know?
yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Now, any other songs on this new album that like, I mean, for you were like were hard to write and be as open and transparent?
Um, well, there's a like this whole record is just really open and transparent. There's a song that we partnered with a band called Relent, and we're all on Rockfest Records, the Protest and Relent and the Letter Black, and all of us are on Rockfest Records along with a bunch of other amongst the giants. But Relent, that's a sick band. Richie from Fire from the Gods produced their album Heavy. We man, that record Heavy is heavy. But anyway, but we wrote a song together because I was telling you, I was kind of I was real hurt, actually, not just kind of. I was real hurt by other Christian people. And I don't want to Christian bash. Like, that's not what I want to do. And I know on a lot of shows it's like everybody's like, rock and roll, screw Christians kind of thing. And like, I don't want to, I'm not about that. Um and I'm not here to make everybody believe what I believe either. Like, I can only share with what happened in my life, and it was God that set me free. It was Jesus that changed my life, and I'm bold about that. I don't, no
Yeah.
matter what show I'm on, whether it's a Christian radio show or a mainstream radio show or whatever. But one of the things that really bothered me was how hurtful some of these Christian people were even when I did finally come out and say I'm struggling with alcohol and stuff like that. There were a few that were like that would drink with me but then judge me afterwards. And I'm like, because they didn't have the problem I had, and so maybe they could have a drink or two and put it down, and I couldn't. And so I was this big sinner, I was this big horrible person, this big hypocrite, and they were fine, even though they were the one that brought the beer to my bus or bought the bottle that we all drank or whatever, and dude, it really hurt me a lot. And I'm not trying to make excuses for my actions. I felt like a hypocrite, I really did, and I have no excuses. But I'll say this, that there's a song on there that we did with Relent, and that song is called Snake Mouth. And that song is literally a song to all of those Pharisees out there, those Facebook Pharisees, those
Mhm.
Facebook theologians, those Christian people out there, in quotes, quote unquote Christian, that that would put up roadblocks for people that, and I don't mean me because I already knew Jesus. So you weren't going to stop me from believing that God loved me or had a plan for my life. Now, I may have had some doubts there, like, oh, God must be done with me now, blah, blah, because who wouldn't think that after making the mistakes I've made, and it's hard to believe someone could love you after that. Everybody else in my life has left me, other than like my mom, my wife, and God. But that song Snake Mouth is just about that. It's just to all those people that would put up roadblocks in front of other people that maybe don't know God, or have only thought, I don't want to hear about this God stuff, dude. It's a bunch of crap, or whatever it is, you know what I mean? And I understand why they're hurting so bad. And so instead of like putting up a roadblock, we go to love on them, we go to meet them where they're at. And I see some of these people that are like, no, until you get yourself together, you ain't coming to God. Like, they're like God's doormen, patting people down and whatever else.
Yeah.
Doorman for Jesus. They need to have a ministry called Doorman for Jesus, or Doorman for Jesus. Like, nah, man, you need to quit patting people down. You need to be patted down to, if the truth you're going to really be told. And then another thing about that is, dude, you don't fix yourself to come to Jesus. You come to Jesus to get yourself fixed, man.
Yeah. Amen.
That's how that works. And so you're telling people that until they put down the bottle, until they put down the dope, until they stop doing this or until they stop doing that, they can't come into the arms of God, a savior. Dude, that's nah, man, I'm not on my watch. So that's what Snake Mouth is about. It's about those people that spit that venom and vitriol. And I called him out right on that song, and so did Miggy from the band Relent.
That is awesome. And you just I mean, I I was really tracking with that everything you said because I've experienced that myself. But I had a we have this church down in Dayton, Ohio, called the First Heavy Metal Church of Christ, and I ended up like I was my daughter did a jujitsu tournament in Indiana, and we were driving back towards Cleveland, and we decided to make a weekend of it. So we stayed down in Dayton. We wanted to go check out Yellow Springs and maybe run into Dave Chappelle or something, you know. But
Yeah.
I woke up in the hotel room in Dayton, and it was a Sunday morning, and I was just like, oh, you know what? That church is down here. I seen that video about. I'm like, I go, we're gonna go to church. My daughter was all like upset, like, no, I didn't come for this, but we went, and the pastor there, I mean, there's heavy metal music and stuff, and the pastor there is saying everything you just said. And so I ended up getting his information. He's been on my podcast too, just saying everything, like, you know they take the people that those other quote unquote churches don't take. They take everybody as you are and stuff. And that would be probably a good church for me to connect you guys with for your tours and
Yeah.
playing and stuff, man. So
Yeah.
maybe I'll send you that information when the interview's over.
Absolutely, man. Yeah,
If he gets it, man.
people need to know that, like, be careful what you say. Like, it's cool that you found God, but be careful what you say to other people who are still searching,
Yeah.
because you may be the reason that they don't come. And the power of the tongue, man, our mouths, man, we got to watch what we say. And that's not just that's in general.
Oh yeah.
That's in general. God out of the equation. That's in general, man. You got to be careful. And because I've hurt people with what I've said. I've said things that I wished I could take back, and that's
Hmm.
the funny thing about words. You can't take them back.
The biggest abuse I probably gave to my ex and my kids during my addiction, I never was physical. It always came from my mouth just running, you
Yeah,
know, and a lot of still 13 years sober. It's like I'm still trying to learn how to tame that beast and speak truth, speak replace the lie with the truth in
yeah,
scripture, and it's a day, one day at a time thing.
absolutely it is, man.
But you mentioned Rockfest Records, and that's like your label, correct?
Yeah, yeah.
You want to talk a little bit about that, putting that together, and
Yeah, so I started Rockfest Records about 4 years ago. Seventh Day Slumber has been on several different record labels, from Warner Brothers, Word Entertainment, to EMI and Tooth and Nail, and then to Capitol. And so we, I've never owned my own masters.
mm,
Someone else has always owned our masters. I've owned my own publishing, which is great, but I've never been in control of my own masters until just several years ago, when my contract was up and I told Capitol, I love the team. I love the distribution team. I love the sales folks and everybody, but I want to own my own masters. I've been doing this over 20 years and I never owned my own masters. And I said, so I'm going to probably do this independently and release it, find a distribution. And I said, but I'd love to still work with you guys. And they don't just hand out distribution deals. Like, they don't just give people their own label. Like, here you go. Because Capitol's owned by Universal Music Group, and Universal UMG is the biggest distributor worldwide of music, all music. And so as far as majors go, and this the three majors: Universal, Sony, and Warner Brothers. And so they're the top one out of all three of them. And then you have the independent distributors like the Orchard and things like that. But anyway, so, which I was planning on going to something like that, and Capitol said, "Hey, listen, we don't want you to go. We want to have we'd love to work with you, and you have a good name in the industry, and a good relationship with a lot of the bands. Why don't you start your own label? And I said, I had thought about that before. As a matter of fact, I had mentioned it to them before, but I didn't think they would take me like seriously, about that, because it takes a lot of money to do that.
Yeah.
And they were like, no, man, we're behind it. If you want to start a label, and they knew that I'd been doing these Rockfest tours where we'd go all over the country, us, Disciple, Project 86, Wolves at the Gate, all of us on those tours. And they're like, man, Rockfest Records, we'd love to have you if you want to do it. So they gave me a distribution deal, and then I had about 150,000 of my own money, and then I had a partner um, who she put in for my wife and I. She matched it, and we started Rockfest Records 4 years ago. And I've had a couple of Billboard records off of it, and several number ones from our artists. We have Fireflight on the label, The Letter Black, and Fireflight just got certified gold. The Letter Black, Seventh Day Slumber, The Protest, Amongst the Giants, GFM, the GFM band, which is Gold, Frankincense, and Myrrh. But the
Okay.
GFM band, they're on tour with Fozzy. They're actually getting ready to go on tour with Chris Jericho, the wrestler, his band
Yeah,
Fozzy.
yeah. I'm
So
a
they're
big
heading out
fan.
on that tour right now.
Yeah,
Yeah, so it's crazy.
I definitely want to get him on some at some point, because he's I've always been a fan of his work in the wrestling ring and stuff, but then he's doing everything with Fozzy, and his podcast is another one of my inspirations for doing podcasting. And it's just like, how does this dude stay so busy and still like raise his family and everything? It's just
Yeah.
he's definitely inspiring. Um, so, I want to ask you some of the questions that I normally ask guests that I have on the show, musicians and stuff, and these are sometimes that like tough for them to narrow down. But who are your top three bands?
Well, growing up, my top three bands were Rage Against the Machine, Metallica, and I would say Soundgarden.
Nice. And then, is there a particular song that you feel has inspired you in life? That's one that you can go back to whenever you're kind of like going through a rough patch, like I'm sure so many of your songs have been for others.
Um, it's hard for me to think of one right now. Like I just I just go back and listen to music in general, and there's a band called Story of the Year, and they had an album called Page Avenue. And dude, I find myself listening to that record a lot. Um, for whatever reason. And you know, that record, sometimes I'll put that thing on and just rock out, and I don't think about anything else, but it also kind of gets me pumped up, you know.
Yeah.
But that's you know, also I gotta say, um, POD and that Satellite album,
Oh yeah.
man, I wore that thing out, dude.
I remember hearing on the radio, those songs, and just, this is before I got saved and stuff, and it was just like they're awesome rocking songs, and then going back after with the new set of ears and eyes, it was just like, wow,
Yeah,
beautiful. I
no,
love it.
I love them. They should have been in my top three. They're one of my favorite bands, man. Like I love those dudes. They're great dudes too. Like Sonny and all of them, Trey and all those dudes, man. They are really solid dudes. Real
Yeah,
cool guys.
yeah, definitely. And then who are or wait, what's what class do you feel should be, this could be controversial, but we'll see. What class do you feel should be mandatory today before kids can graduate high school?
What class should be they need a class on respect. I mean, uh but a class that should be mandatory is I don't know. I think kids don't know their history. Like they don't know their history. They don't know there's no patriotism in this country. And I feel like it's because they don't understand what was actually, and I know we've had the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I think kids should learn about the good, the bad, the ugly. But I feel like there's this push now to kind of rewrite history and make it a certain thing and
Yeah,
get rid of all of the other stuff. And I think it's important for these kids to know how this country has actually progressed over the years, and the men and women that have fought and died for this country. And I with civil rights too and all those things. Like I believe all of it, but don't leave stuff out. And I believe that there's a lot of history not really being taught. But I don't know, man. That's so hard because you just don't know. Like there's kids that are graduating that don't even know how to read, to be honest.
yeah,
And that's the time that we're living in right now. It's like I'm not trying to get political or anything. I'm just saying we're just in that time right now where it's like, dude, there are kids graduating with no kind of skills, no kind of don't even know how to read.
yeah. I mean, a dumbed down populace is easier to control, you know?
Oh man, who are you telling? It really is. Because
Yeah.
even me, like when I didn't even I dropped out of high school, and I was, like I said, I was on dope and whatever else. I dropped out, but like I could believe any like I don't want to say I believed anything, but I was easy to convince about stuff because I didn't really know a lot, man. I just didn't care. I didn't care about politics at all. Like
Yeah.
Democrat, Republican, any of that stuff didn't matter to me. I just want to know where I can get high at, you know what I mean? And like play guitar, rock out, and but anyway, no, I that's a hard one. I don't know. I think kids need to be smarter, I can tell you that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the blessing that I've experienced with being in recovery and my faith is just and I mean I do see it in the church, even in some of our groups, and my biggest prayer is I pray for discernment, that everybody would have discernment. I don't
Mhm.
think I have all the answers, but it seems like I see the world through a whole new set of eyes, and I know we're definitely involved in a spiritual battle going on. And every day I got to armor up, and I just want to be able to read through the find the truth through the lies, and I just pray that for our kids
Yeah,
for
absolutely.
sure. Who are three people who've inspired you or you can credit for making you the person you are today?
Um my like obviously God, but I mean on earth here, I would have to say my mom, um, my wife, and I'd say a mother-in-law who actually believed in me a whole lot.
Wow, that's awesome.
Three women made me the man I am today.
It's beautiful. And then is there any causes or organizations that you support and want to encourage others to check out?
I would say Tunnels for Towers, Wounded Warrior. We have a song called "Man Down." That is really a song written to those men and women who served. And "Man Down" is it's about PTSD. And my son wrote the lyrics to it. He's seen me pray for a lot of our warriors, and then Josiah and I wrote the music to it all together. And so "Man Down," um, that that is has a list on the video. Like if you go to the video on YouTube, you'll see a list of organizations that we support on there.
Oh, nice. I'll check that out for sure. It's been another blessing with being able to do this. It's like I've been through a couple organizations for myself that has helped me and my family and my healing and stuff, and I'm able to network and pass along to other veterans in my community. So I'll
Yeah.
definitely check that out. Um, Favorite toy as a child?
Favorite toy as a child, I'd have to say it would have just been my bike. I had a garage sale bike that my mom got it at a garage sale, and that that bike, I mean, I was like, that was my toy. That or the Hot Wheels racetracks, unless my mom took them apart and whooped me with them, and she did, you know.
Yeah,
But I
I
used to
remember
love that
that.
Hot Wheels racetrack, man.
Yeah, yeah. I remember those things stung too. It was like
Boy,
my
they
dad's
did.
belt, you know? And then, I know we just, mentioned them, but any message that you have for our military members currently serving overseas?
I just want to say that we respect you. We honor you. We know that you don't get the help that you deserve, the help you need, and it's shameful. And we just want you to know that we're speaking about you every chance that we get. You're not forgotten. And we thank you for not just your service, but your sacrifice. And a big shout out to all those families that served right along with you.
Awesome. Awesome, man. Thank you so much. Joseph, man, this has been a huge blessing for me to be able to talk with you today, and I hope, we can continue, connecting. You guys are in Nashville, correct?
Yep.
Okay, I have some friends that are like-minded with us, down there that, there's one guy in particular I had on here, I'd like to connect you with. Um, it just God kinda put it on my heart. I think, um, he's a musician. He's in recovery, and he's a good, solid dude. Just trying to, he helps work at a facility, helping people get sober and recovery and stuff. And I think he'd be good contact to connect you
Yeah.
with.
I'm down,
Um,
man.
Awesome. And then if for people that are in the audience that may be new to hearing about you guys and want to check you out and learn more, where would you send them?
Just seventhDaySlumber.com. That's SEVENTH. Make sure you got the TH on it, and that it's spelt out, not the number seven. So seventhDaySlumber.com. All of our information's on there, our socials, our all that stuff. And the name just means that God created the earth in 6 days, and then he rested on the seventh day, slumbered on the seventh day. That's all that means. It's not that creative, but just in case someone's going, what does that mean? But yeah, seventhDaySlumber.com. And then we're on all of our socials. You can hit us up just at Seventh Day Slumber, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, whatever. And it's really us that answers your messages.
Awesome. And then real quick before I let you go, could you do me one last favor?
Yeah,
Mind cutting a promo ID for the show? Just
sure.
introduce yourself, and you're listening to today's Boondoggle.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Joseph with Seventh Day Slumber, and you're listening to today's Boondoggle. Keep it locked.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much, Joseph.
Thank
This was
you.
great. Meant a lot to me. And I'll email your wife the link and stuff when we're all set.
Awesome. Well, dude, it was an honor. I'm gonna hop on this other call. It's another podcast, but man, it was an honor to be here, brother. Thank you again.
Thank you. God
All right.
bless.
Bye.